Hello, everyone, and welcome to your show, Open Book, where we explore the treasures of Scripture and their relevance in our lives today. Today, we're delighted to dive into a topic rich in meaning and symbolism, the Festival of Purim. Joining me for this journey is Sarah, a young Jewish Christian woman passionate about the Bible and its festivals. Hello, Sarah, and thank you for accepting my invitation.
Hello, James, and thank you for having me. It's an honor to share about this festival, which holds such importance in Jewish tradition and, I believe, offers valuable lessons for all believers.
Let's get straight to the heart of the matter. For listeners unfamiliar with Purim, could you explain its origins and biblical roots?
Of course! Purim is a Jewish festival originating from the Book of Esther in the Old Testament. It celebrates the deliverance of the Jewish people from a plot to exterminate them under the reign of the Persian king Ahasuerus, also known as Xerxes. The story recounts how Haman, a high-ranking official, devised a plan to destroy all Jews in the Persian Empire. But through the courage of Queen Esther and the intervention of her cousin Mordecai, the plot was thwarted, and the Jews were saved.
Ah yes, Esther's story is fascinating. But why is the festival called Purim?
Great question, James! The word Purim comes from the Hebrew pur, meaning lot. Haman cast lots to determine the day his evil plan would unfold. This act became symbolic of the festival, but Purim ultimately reveals God's sovereignty, showing that our lives are not ruled by chance.
Interesting. So, in a way, it's a celebration of God's providence, even though the Book of Esther, notably, never explicitly mentions his name, right?
Exactly. Though God isn't named, his hand is evident in every detail. This teaches us that God sometimes works behind the scenes, yet he is always protecting and guiding his people.
Truly inspiring. Purim commemorates a historical event, but does it hold spiritual significance for believers today?
Absolutely. For Jews, it's a time to remember God's faithfulness and the call to act with courage and faith, as Esther did. For Christians, Purim invites reflection on how God works in our lives, even when his presence isn't obvious. It reminds us to trust him, even in adversity.
How is Purim celebrated in Jewish communities today?
The celebrations are joyful and full of traditions. A central moment is the public reading of the Scroll of Esther, Megillat Esther. Whenever Haman's name is mentioned, everyone makes noise with noisemakers or stomps their feet to reject the villain.
That must be lively.
Oh yes. There are also festive meals, exchanging gift baskets, mishloach manot, and giving to the poor, as Purim emphasizes sharing and generosity.
Beautiful to see such community joy and solidarity. What about candles? I've heard of a special lighting for Purim, is that true?
Not exactly. Unlike Hanukkah, Purim doesn't involve ritual candle lighting. However, homes and synagogues may be decorated, and light still symbolizes joy and deliverance.
I see. Any other notable symbols?
Yes! The famous Hamantashen triangular pastries, said to resemble Haman's ears, or hat symbolize the triumph of good over evil.
Now I'm hungry. But seriously, this festival seems rich with lessons.
It is, James. Purim reminds us that even when all seems lost, God watches and acts in his timing. It calls us to courage and faithfulness, just as Esther and Mordecai demonstrated.
Thank you, Sarah, for these insights. Purim is clearly more than a festival, it's a testament to faith and resilience. Next, we'll explore how Purim resonates in the New Testament. Sarah, will you stay with us?
With pleasure, James.
Perfect. To our listeners, stay tuned for the rest of this fascinating conversation. We'll be right back.
In the streets, laughter rings clear. Children dance, spreading cheer. Masks aglow, neath lights so bright. Purim shines with heaven's light. dark decree was once penned, Haman sought destruction near. But in heaven God had sworn, my people, I'll lead them here. Esther, queen with courage true, rose in faith, her heart aflame, faced the storm, the tempest blew, saved her people, crowned in fame. Sing aloud, praise Purim's name, day of joy, destinies turn, God transforms to rhyming flame, tears to feasts where hearts discern. Cries of pain now fade away, evil crushed beneath our feet. Sing aloud, praise Purim's day, God's sweet grace makes joy complete. Mordecai would never kneel, defied Haman, stood his ground, loyal to God's timeless seal. Pride and fear he would not crown. Heaven unveiled its hidden hand, fate reversed with justice sworn. Haman's war turned sinking sand, down he fell, his pride was torn. Sorrow's shadow flees the scene, voices soar in triumph's hymn, masks and dances, joy serene. God reigns bright, our hope in Him. Sing aloud, praise Purim's name, day of joy, destinies turn, God transforms to rhyming flame, tears to feasts where hearts discern. Sing aloud, praise Purim's name, day of joy, destinies turn, God transforms to rhyming flame, tears to feasts where hearts discern. Cries of pain now fade away, evil crushed beneath our feet. Sing aloud, praise Purim's day, God's sweet grace makes joy complete. Raise the cup, let joy resound, tell the tale, let truth be crowned. Purim love no dark can dim, God's bright victory fills our hymn.
And we're back on Open Book for the second part of our discussion on the Festival of Purim. Sarah is still with us. Thank you again for all your insights in the first half.
With pleasure, James. I'm thrilled to continue this conversation.
As promised, let's dive into an intriguing question. Even though Purim is a Jewish festival, can it resonate with or connect to the New Testament?
That's an excellent question, James. While Purim specifically commemorates a historical event for the Jewish people, many of its themes deeply align with New Testament teachings.
Could you give us a concrete example?
Certainly. One central theme of Purim is God's providence, His ability to guide events even when all seems lost. In the New Testament, this idea echoes in passages like Romans 8:28. And we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love Him. That's precisely what unfolds in Esther's story. Though God isn't named, everything works together to save His people.
So even when God feels absent, He's still working behind the scenes.
Exactly. This mirrors Jesus' life too. At His crucifixion, many might have thought God had abandoned Him. Yet, it was actually God's plan to bring salvation to humanity.
Fascinating. Esther's story encourages us to trust God in uncertainty. Are there other parallels between Purim and the New Testament?
Absolutely. Another key parallel is self-sacrifice. Esther risked her life to save her people, much like Jesus gave His life to save humanity. Both testaments call us to stand courageously for others.
So Purim isn't just about deliverance, it's also a call to courage and service.
Precisely. This aligns with Jesus' teachings on loving our neighbor. Purim's emphasis on generosity, giving to the poor, and sharing gifts also reflects his call to care for the vulnerable, as in Matthew 25-40. Truly I tell you, whatever you did for one of the least of these, you did for me.
As a Jewish Christian, how do you personally observe Purim?
For me, Purim is a time to thank God for his faithfulness. As a Christian, it reminds me that God has a plan for his people, and for each of us. I celebrate Purim's joy while reflecting on how Jesus fulfilled ultimate deliverance through his death and resurrection.
So Purim becomes a bridge between the Old and New Testaments?
Yes, it highlights the Jewish roots of my faith and the unity of God's covenants. It's a celebration of his faithfulness throughout history.
What would you say to those who don't celebrate Purim but want to apply its lessons spiritually?
Focus on its universal themes, trusting God in trials, acting courageously, and practicing generosity. These lessons transcend cultural or religious boundaries.
Thank you, Sarah, for sharing such rich insights. I've learned so much, and I'm sure our listeners have too.
Thank you, James. It's been a joy to discuss Purim's timeless message.
Dear listeners, that brings us to the end of today's episode. May this time inspire you to explore Scripture's depth and the beauty of biblical festivals. Join us next time on Roots and Light. Until then, remember, God is always faithful, even when we can't see him. See you soon.